Hi, my name is Sam Hatoum,
Lucas Gandecki.
and we're going to show you today the code that's in this article, which is basically how to take the components that are in your storybook and publish them so that they can be consumed by other applications. So we wrote a plugin to make this very easy, and this is going to be a walkthrough of how to put that plugin in your code base.
All right, let's go.
So what you've got here is two things. You have an app and you have a design system. The design system is basically a cut down version of the one that we use at Zolvio. So I'm just going to yarn start that up. And while that's starting, I'll open up the Zolvio website and show you what we're going to be looking at. So every component you see on here has been built from our design system. If I scroll down to this part here, you'll see that this is our services section where we tell you the kind of things we do, which I strongly recommend you go and have a look at and check us out. And it's built up from elements which come together to make components, which come together to make greater components. So let me show you what those look like. Here's a cut down version. Here's our components. You can see there we've got one modernization section. It has an icon and it has some text. So that is actually made up from some typography over here somewhere. So you can see this is the default header. It's made up from not that one. It's made up of some icons. So these are the different icons that we're using here. And what else does it have? I think that's about it. This is a few of them. And then we also have a title, which is the thing that you can see here on the left. It's got this, what we call the Zolvio confetti, and the title, etc. So let's see over here. You've got the title. Here is with a background, with confetti, and here is with the background and confetti. Now, what we're going to do in this demo is show you how to build this section here from the design system as a separate app. So our app over here will be hosting this sort of services page or services section, which will be made up from all these different elements that are being published by the design system. Okay, so the first thing you got to do is go to our plugin homepage on GitHub, where you'll see the instructions of how to install it. It's called Storybook Webpack Federation plugin. It does exactly what it says on the tin. So first we need to go ahead and add the Storybook Federation plugin. Just open up our trusty terminal over here. Nope.
Oh.
Okay, I'll stop Storybook and I will add the plugin. Just move this over to the right here since I'll be doing a few things maybe. The other thing we got to do is we got to install the latest version of Webpack. You can see there, it's sort of on the dev branch there, dev tag. And that's because Webpack 5 is the thing that has Federation. And Storybook currently uses Webpack 4. So we just have to add this thing to the Storybook. Now, when eventually it's very, very likely that Storybook will upgrade to Storybook 5. And when that happens, then you won't need to take this step. But for the time being, we do need to do this. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with pairing here, using a tool to pair. And I'm having a little bit of trouble pasting in here. If you can help me out there, thank you. Okay, and then while that's happening, the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and get the Webpack config in there. So here's one we made earlier. It actually looks exactly the same as what you see in here. This is the standard sort of Webpack config. And what we're going to do is we're just going to import Storybook Webpack Federation into the top. So we've already just done that there. You can see that. And then the next thing we're going to do is put the location of where the compiled storybook lives. So we're going to do a step shortly in the build of this project on the storybook to create a compiled version of Storybook. And that's what Federation would use in order to extract the components. And then what you need to do is set a public path. We actually do have the storybook you just saw public on here if you want to go and have a look at it. It's actually HTTP. Not HTTPS. Yeah, locally we're going to actually run this on a different port. So because we want to show you this running here.
Yeah,
local.
3030.
So we're just going to, that's right. So again, if you could put that in there, please, Lukash.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And that just tells our plugin, actually it tells Webpack Federation where the public path will be. For some reason, Webpack Federation needs to know that. Next, we're going to configure our plugin, which is done with this section right here. So we'll go down to the plugins, click inside there. There we go. And the thing here, we just need to tell it. So what's the name that Federation will use when you're importing the modules? And the next thing is, where should it look for paths for the components within your storybook? And that's just a glob pattern that you can use. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, we need to build a static version of Storybook. So you can see here, we've got a build Storybook, which will, let's have a look here. We're going to remove any existing Webpack Storybook static site, and then we're going to generate it.
So we actually
Again, so I'll
build
just
the
copy
Storybook separately, and then also we need to build the Federation separately. Again, this happens currently only because Storybook doesn't use the Webpack 5 yet. In the future, you will just build Storybook statically, and it will have everything inside.
Right. So there, I've just replaced the build that was already in there with this new build, which piggybacks the build Federation. And now we can see build Federation. So let's save that. And now we'll go through to back to the command line. And we'll run yarn build. So it's generating a storybook. This is actually a step you'd need to do anyway if you're going to publish the storybook to a location. So if I actually go and grab this URL right there and go here while that's loading. Oops. Here you can see the published storybook that I just showed you locally. So, if you wanted to publish your storybook and design system for collaboration with others, this is how you do it anyway. And what we do is our plugin piggybacks on top of this in order to get the grab the components out of it. So now that that's running, let's go to localhost 3030 and see. Just make sure we've started the app
Yeah, we
first.
need to serve.
Yep.
So let's
do you
go
want
to
just
the
do
terminal. Yarn serve.
And so there we go. That's the local storybook that we're looking at. And if you go to look at the remote entry that would be under the endpoint that we showed there, you can see that it's actually exposing every one of the components that are in our design system. So we have sections, title, background, icon, screen icon, shape icon, all the stuff that I showed you earlier. This is how Webpack exposes all of them. So just to reiterate where we are, go ahead. Sorry, Lukash.
Yes, so important thing to remember here is that this file doesn't actually include the components. It just allows the other applications to use this as a remote. So all the components are living in chunks that this remote entry allows to dynamically import.
Right. And that also allows you to do things like lazy loading, right, Lukash?
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, just to reiterate where we are, this is the local design system with the Federation remote entry point exposed. And this is the storybook that that has exactly the same components that you're looking at being exposed. That's the key thing here, is that we're exposing the very same components you're looking at. So it's a what you see is what you get sort of approach. Let's go ahead now and include that in our application and see how we can actually use this stuff. So that was the first part, is to get Storybook, get the plugin into Storybook. And so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and do that to the app. So we'll go to our app, and we again will open the command line, and we'll run this part, which is the add Webpack Federation plugin. And then the other thing we'll need to do, just like before, we'll need to add Webpack 5 here as well.
Yeah, so the assumption is
Oops,
that you
I'm sorry.
already have Webpack installed, but currently you will have to install this beta version from GitHub. So again, this is a step that will go away once this is all released as a stable version.
And then it's exactly the same drill as before. We go to the app, we go to the Webpack config, we go to the top, we add our plugin right there. And then we configure the plugin. Slight difference now in how we configure the plugin. We don't need to do an outputs directory since this is the consuming application. It's not the remote application. And now in here, we just basically say, okay, we're going to have a new Storybook Federation, and we're going to tell it that the remote we are using is going to be referenced by Zolvia UI. And finally, we just go into the index.html of this application. So if I just go into there,
Public.
find the, oh, thank you. Always gets me that one. And we just go into the head section and we add the script. And again, this is not using the public one. We're going to use the local host.
Sorry, go ahead.
Wait. Oh, I can't type. Local host, and it's going to be running on 3030.
And then
we don't need all that extra stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and this is actually not the final step. There we should be looking. Unfortunately, we haven't merged the updated README. But there is one step missing here, and we also need to change our entry point for Webpack. The first thing that the Webpack 5 needs to parse is this dynamic import. Basically, the idea is that it needs a promise so it can inject itself into the process. So what we will do, we'll create the index JS file. We just do import of a bootstrap. And we need to rename our index into bootstrap. That was not what we want. Websterm is trying to be too smart. Yep. So that's the final step.
Okay, and do we not have to reference from within here it's already referenced index previously. We just did a little trick. Yeah.
Bootstrap was called index before.
All right, and there's a reason for this. If you look in here, it's basically to do with how Webpack sort of interjects itself into the process, and that's why it needs the promise in there so that it can basically manage the loading order. I'll let you go ahead and read that explanation over here, but for now, just suffice to know that you need to do this little fancy footwork to get that working. And that's it, really. That's all we need to do. Now we can actually start using the components. So if we go ahead and serve this site up, Lukash. So we have a nice, beautiful React app. Let's actually make it more beautiful. So to zoom in on what we're trying to do, we're trying to recreate this section of the Zolvia website using the design system to pull the components together at runtime. So let's iterate and make it work. So the first thing we need to do is go to our app where we've got, this is my React app. What I'll do is I'll go to the design system that we have and be like, okay, I first want to get this component together. So let's have a look and see. Sorry, go to components. Yeah, background with confetti. And we have included the story. So there's a plugin for Storybook that shows you the actual story that's being used to put this together. And all I got to do is look here and see, okay, so this needs the title, content wrapper, background, I'll just grab all of those things that are demonstrated in there. I'll import them here. And then I'll take this part that's putting them all together.
I think you need to command tab, otherwise WebStorm is not super happy.
Oh, okay. And I'll get rid of these and I'll return that instead. Okay, so now we should have that, but of course we need to get this content from somewhere. So we've already created a content file right here. We just put the content inside it. It's nothing more than just a plain old JavaScript object that has some bits and pieces. So you can see title and subheading and heading right there. So we're going to go here and we're going to say, we're going to import the content first. Import content from content. And then we're going to use that content over here to say content.sub heading, there it is. And for the title, we're going to use content.title. Let's save that and go and have a look in our design in the page. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, there seems to be something wrong. So let's find out what's going on. We'll open up the console and look in here. It looks like it's not getting its chunks from somewhere. Oh yeah, look at that. You can see it's using the wrong, it needs a slash. Right? That's actually a common gotcha. So there we go. That's another thing within the Webpack 5. Maybe they'll fix this, but right now you need to have the slash. So if we go ahead and save and rebuild that, and then go back to
I also have to serve, so give me a second here. That should be good.
All right, there we go. So let's get rid of that. So we have the first part of the component, and now let's go ahead and add the bits and pieces inside it. So going back to the to this guy, we'll go to the multiple sections, and here you can see how that's being put together. Again, we'll do the same thing. We will just take the multiple section, which takes a section descriptions content, and we will go to the app, and we will put that right underneath the title, right there, and we will get the section descriptions and content.section descriptions.
I think it's just sections.
Oh, sections, is that right?
Sections.
There we go. Yeah, that's right. So there's the sections in there. So let's have a look at that now.
Need to import the sections.
Yes. Thank you.
So we can copy and paste this over from here, Storybook as well.
That's what we like doing because we don't want to make any errors. And we'll get rid of sections. Oh, we do need sections. We just need a single section. Storybook. Okay, let's go see what this looks like. Ta-da! And you can see like how quickly we can construct a web page like this. If we have our design system public somewhere, we can very, very quickly and easily construct pages like this. So last thing we want to do is put the icons in. So let's go look at how the design system does that too. In the examples, well, it's actually being included here in the content itself. So we basically need to take these icons. We'll go to the content file. So this is becoming a bit more involved as a content file, and there's probably another way we can do this. This will be the shapes icon, which I think we need to do like that. And the next one will be the screen icon. And this one shall be the flip chart icon. Let's go take a look. There you have it. So to recap, what we just did was take individual components from the design system, export them using Webpack Federation and the plugin that we created, and then use that plugin on the application side, consume those components, and now they're all here. Now, what's really cool is that we can modify the design system. Let's say, we change the way that we do confetti, or we change this component such that it has, some change to the heading or something like that. Anything that we do in the design system can now be reflected everywhere. So I'm going to keep this app running on localhost 9000. And what I'm going to do is going to go into the design system, go into one of the components. Let's say it's the section component. And let's see, I want to do something in here. So at the moment it uses, where's the part where it uses the text body? So that's text body. It's importing it from typography. Right there, actually. So this is the typography. It's got text body in here somewhere. So there's the text body, and let's say I want to change something specific about the text body, such that the line height or something like, what do I want to change? The font size. Let's do that. Let's change it to 30. Let's make it nice and ginormous.
Okay.
And we have to rebuild. So this is a step we'd normally have to do if you made any changes to your design system and you wanted to publish it. Now, of course, you should do a ton of quality practices at this point. And that's what we talk about in the article as well, because whatever you push from here, if it's being federated, then it's going to be pushed out to clients everywhere. And so if I go ahead and refresh this page now, there you go. You can see that this page was not redeployed, but because it's pulling all its content at runtime, and the design system underneath it changed, then this component, all the components in here have changed. Now, we would not accept this as a change at Solvio, because obviously that would break everything. So this is what the article goes into. We talk about how you can incorporate different quality practices into your pipeline, so that you don't end up in this situation. You can use visual regression tooling that makes sure that before a change like this goes out, it gives you a before and after, and you can say, hey, that is definitely not something that we want. So visual regression testing would have caught that kind of change early. And there are many other types of sort of areas that you want to make sure you include either as part of your team's process or as part of your deployment pipeline, to make sure that you don't publish any problematic design system changes. So I think that's it. Did I miss anything, Lukash?
No, I think that's it. One thing to remember, though, if you follow our steps here, is that if you don't disable cache, you will not see the changes here. So make sure that when you reload, you do, yeah.
Right there, yeah, perfect. And of course, you can push this a lot more. You can put it behind a CDN. Webpack Federation are actually working on server-side rendering as we speak. So this will make it, performance will not be an issue, because you can have this render on server side. You can put a CDN in front of it, and you can have some kind of cache busting strategy that then allows you to publish newer sites.
Yeah,
That's it. Thank you very much. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I think one thing that's worth mentioning is that this works seamless with React lazy loading. We don't demonstrate it here because we have just one page, so it will load everything the moment we open the page anyway. But if you are switching between different pages, this is obviously very handy and allows you much better performance.
Thank you very much for watching. If you would like some help in any of these areas, please get in touch. We offer hire, and this is exactly the kind of stuff we do.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.